Tim Walz got asked some follow-up from his terrible debate performance. Questions like, do you want to explain your comments about how you've befriended school shooters? Any clarifications there, Tim?
Yeah. And look, you got to see me. These folks know me. I'm super passionate about this. The question come up about school shooting. We're talking about everything except school shootings. And I sat as a member of Congress with the Sandy Hook parents, and it was a profound movement. David Hogg is a good friend of mine. You have seen me do this. I was talking about being people where there are school shooters, and I need to be more specific on that, but I am passionate about this. This one, for my wife and I, is just, as teachers, as parents, is so personal.
What? He didn't really clarify anything. He feels like he's scrambling around. I remember there were a couple times in law school where I'd get called on and I wasn't really prepared. You know what I'm saying? Okay, why don't you explain this case, Bree? I'm like, oh crap, that's the one case I did not read today. I'm like, the plaintiff said this, and the defense team came in and filed this, and the judge said this. And just sit down. All right, on to the next person. Okay, not prepared, not capable of answering the question. That's exactly what I wasn't running for president or for the vice presidency. So here's Tim Walz, and he just looks like he's scrambling everywhere he goes. And I think there's reaction to this as well. People are saying that they're getting nervous over there because their talking points are now floundering. Here's another example of this. Kamala showed up and tried to have a conversation with this fella about economics. And here's what that sounded like.
Former President Trump says that you've had 4 years as vice president to do all the things you've promised in the campaign, but haven't done it. Is he right? Or did President Biden not give you or limit it in some way your role as vice president?
Let's start with this. I think that the former president is really becoming quite desperate and is really been offering a lot of misstatements and misinformation. And perhaps it's because he wants to distract from the fact that he has offered no plan for the American people. I have talked about this before. I invite you to go to his rallies, and what you'll hear about full time is him talking about himself and his personal grievances. Really good. But what you won't hear him talking about is you, economy, and the needs that you have as a working person, as a family person. My plan is about building an opportunity economy where I'm going to give first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance so they can get their foot in the door to be able to be a homeowner. My plan is about $6,000 tax deduction for middle-class families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a crib or a car seat. My plan is about getting a $50,000
okay, but what about now?
To start up businesses, to our small businesses.
What's the current
knowing
environment?
That they are part of the backbone of America's economy. Those are my plans. And I think that unfortunately,
at least you got to some specifics there.
Distract from the fact that his plan is about giving billionaires and big corporations a tax break like he did the last time and doing that again.
All right. Yeah. So didn't really answer the question, of course, about the current environment. She's just going to help people get homes and help people reduce some tax credits, some tax obligations because of some tax credits. And there was another exchange here with Walz, and he is still struggling here. Can you explain the Tiananmen conversation? Because you said that you misspoke, and here's Fetterman. Do you want to give us some clarity? How did you misspeak? Were you off on days? Were you confused about the year? Did you lose your calendar? What happened?
Yeah, look, I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was. It's what encouraged me about 15 back and forth with my students, taking them to China to understand both, first of all, the culture, but also to teach Chinese students about democracy. That was part of it. I was one of the first group of high school students. There weren't a lot of times that there were high school teachers in there that you could teach in a Chinese high school. And you've seen me. These teachers see me. I speak like everybody else speaks. I need to be clear. I will tell you that. But here's my whole point on that thing with China. I do understand China a hell of a lot better than Donald Trump. Kamala Harris understands China. I will tell you this, Xi Jinping is not someone you should look up to. Xi Jinping is not someone who you should say does a good job on things, as Donald Trump has said about COVID. And my point on this was Donald Trump got played on a trade war. He created the largest deficit with China in America.
But man, nobody understands or wants to listen to you or believe anything you say because we think you're a liar because you lie about stuff. And there's all these little flubs, just misconnections about rank and about weapons of war and combat and IVF and now Tiananmen Square. The list goes on and on. He's just scrambling around over there. And I think it's going to come back to bite them in the butt. People can feel it. They can just sense it and they don't like it. Now, here is a nice excerpt from J.D. Vance. He was also out on the campaign trail in Michigan. Here's what he had to say.
They also said you were very cordial last night in the debate, and the message got through. But compare your style to Donald Trump's style, where he was a little aggressive. Do you think that Donald Trump's message sometimes is lost because of his aggressive style?
Charlie, look, I think, first of all, there is a media caricature out there of Donald Trump that is so different from the man that I've come to know. And I think that when he called me last night, you know what he said? He asked me how my wife was doing. And he said, you just had a hell of a debate. I'm sure that you were nervous. You had every right to be nervous, but go and have a nice meal with your wife and go and enjoy this moment. That's the Donald Trump that I know. People say, now look, the other thing I love about Donald Trump, and I think it's true of all of us, we can be so devoted to and so grateful to this country and its incredible opportunities, but then also be pissed off that the leadership is failing this great nation. There's no contrast. There's no tension in saying on the one hand, we've got the greatest country in the world. And on the other hand, Kamala Harris is doing everything she can to screw it up. And I love that Donald Trump can do both of those things at the same time. He can go out there and talk to the American people and be warm and engaged. He can talk to a normal American citizen about their struggles in paying for groceries and housing under Kamala Harris's policies. And then he can go on a debate stage and tell Kamala Harris that she ought to stop screwing up and she ought to stop talking about solving the country's problems. She ought to go and actually do it. That's the kind of president we need. That's the kind of leader that we need. And I think his message gets through.
Nicely done there from J.D. Vance on the campaign trail. And those were some more updates from the debate.